part of the area, but still there are slick patches on the blue there, and side streets not depicted on the map may be still a little slippery in some spots. Also cul-de-sacs and sidewalks may be a little crusty or a little slippery. But here's the current picture. We have some daylight already showing up. The sky is cleared off. It's in fact, as soon as the snow came to an end, the sky is cleared right around 2 o'clock this morning or 3 o'clock. But here's the view from our Louis Dodauto camera. It's 21. It feels like 12 here at the studio. The winds have been dropping off a little bit in the past couple of hours. 21 at the airport right now officially in Rochester. Winona 28, Mesa City 21, and it's 18 degrees in Albert Lea. The wind chill single digits in most cases, and we'll be in that range for a big part of the day with these raw winds and cold temperatures. Clouds have moved out. We have an inch of snow here on the weather patio, but nothing more falling today as that system has now moved into lower Michigan. 27 is a typical high temperature on the weather almanac. Officially at midnight, it was 31, and that will go down in the books as our high temperature because we will not get that warm later today. Sunset at 5:39. Here's our dog walking forecast. We have Sparky from Bern. And, a cold day for a dog walk, but otherwise things looking okay. We'll have some sun throughout the day, raw winds 29. Just have to bundle up, be prepared for maybe a couple of pockets of crust or some snow to trudge through. Over area wide, about 1 to 3 inches overall, but here in Rochester, 1 inch from last night's snow event.
Yeah, it could be a little slippery on the sidewalks for the morning dog walk, Ted.
Maybe, yep.
All right, thank you. On that note, let's take a look at your morning commute. And thanks to our morning photographer, Kaylee Derschel, who's been going around our area to give us a look at some of the road conditions this morning to help keep you safe as you head out the door. She's on Valley High Drive right now, and you can see a little more on the roads than you would on Highway 52 or 14 or 63. As you're heading out the door, Ted has reminded us those side streets, cul-de-sacs, probably parking lots are going to be covered this morning. So just take a little extra caution out there, and we hope you have a safe trip into school and work. And you can always get the latest on conditions as they develop by keeping up with us both on our news and weather apps, which are free for you to download. This morning, we are learning more about the trial that the Senate will hold for newly impeached Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas.
Yeah, Congress, of course, making history this week when House Republicans officially charged him with high crimes and misdemeanors over his handling of the U.S. southern border. So let's bring in our Washington correspondent, Ashanti Ford, live from D.C. to talk more about this. Good morning, Ashanti.
Good morning to you both.
Okay, so what are you kind of hearing about this? You're right there in Capitol Hill. Give us the details.
Yeah, so kind of like you just said, Mayorkas, he became the first cabinet official to be impeached since the 1800s, almost 150 years. But it's important to note he hasn't actually resigned yet, right? There's a little bit of a process here. His case will now move to the Democrat-controlled Senate, where he's unlikely to be officially removed from office, right? As we know, Democrats don't believe there's any real evidence that Mayorkas acted outside of his role or that he's to blame for the record amount of illegal migrants that crossed over into the border last year. So, or at least solely to blame, right, for that number. So it's very unlikely that the Senate side is going to convict him. So in terms of the process, the House will present their articles of impeachment to the Senate. That's early next week. And then that official decision will be made. So we may have a definite answer on how they plan to move forward here pretty soon, maybe even early Monday, Tuesday, or later into the week.
Okay, Ashanti, let's touch on something else now. There are dueling hearings today into former President Trump's 4 criminal cases. So what are these about, and does he have to attend them?
Right. So one is in Georgia and the other is in New York. So this time around, I'm not sure if it's possible for him to be at both. A small recap for people. In New York, a judge is kind of considering Trump's request to throw out a hush money case against him, right? There's that case. And then in Georgia, Trump's lawyers are trying to shake that election interference case, which we've talked a lot about, right? So Trump's lead attorney in Georgia said the former president would most likely attend the New York hearing, which is today. And, as we can see, our former president, he's got a lot on his plate, right? He's got a lot on his hands. And these attorneys for these trials, they're not cheap. They're pricey, especially when on the other end, you're operating a very expensive presidential campaign. So, ladies, let's see what comes out of that New York courtroom today.
A lot of money on the table, and he is doing a lot of multitasking. Thanks so much, Ashanti. We hope you have a good day.
Thank you. You too.
A shocking sight in Lake City, hundreds of dead fish floating in the Mississippi River.
Yeah, we actually learned about this from one of our viewers, and now we're getting some information from the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources. So the DNR does say that this tends to happen because of thermal stress that's caused by any recent warmer weather. The agency says it has responded to 2 seasonal fish die-offs on the river this year, one in Lake City, that was February 3rd, and another in Wabasha last Thursday. We're told this is unfortunately common this time of year. Biologists say about 1,000 American gizzard shadfish were killed due to that warm spell. The DNR does tell us that it will continue collecting data regarding the die-off. We have an update now on SEIU Healthcare Minnesota and Iowa's wage negotiations with Mayo Clinic.
The union says Mayo has agreed to sit back down at the table in the next couple of weeks to continue these conversations. SEIU members are seeking higher wages to address worker shortages for its 600 frontline workers at Mayo's Rochester Methodist Hospital. They're asking for a $20 minimum wage with proportional wage increases. Allie Wallace is one of the lead negotiators for SEIU and says up until this week, there wasn't much progress made.
Yesterday, as I said, we had a session yesterday with Mayo at the table, and we actually made some significant progress in our negotiations. It had been going very slow for a while. Yesterday, we made some bigger steps with them. However, we're still far apart from each other.
At the end of January, SEIU members held an informational picket outside of the Methodist campus pushing for these changes. In response, Mayo Clinic did send us a statement saying it, quote, values the contributions of each of our staff members and has been negotiating in good faith since January 9th. Mayo Clinic remains committed to reaching a mutually beneficial agreement. We are hopeful that SEIU will engage in further bargaining to reach a resolution.
Continuing coverage in Goodhue, it's been about 6 months since the Goodhue County Sheriff's Office started providing policing services to the city of Goodhue. Sheriff Marty Kelly tells us that the transition with the city is working well so far. This all came about after the entire Goodhue Police Department resigned in August, citing low pay. You may remember that. The city of Goodhue is under contract with the Sheriff's Office through this entire year. And Sheriff Kelly tells us he believes the partnership will continue beyond 2024.
After 25 years of service, the Minnesota State Patrol's chief is taking his talents beyond the Gopher State. Colonel Matt Langer began his career with the State Patrol in 1999, working his way through the ranks. Now, he's accepted a position as the Director of Global Policing for the International Association of Chiefs of Police. Governor Tim Walz congratulating Colonel Langer on an outstanding career, wishing him well in his next role. So his last day on this job will be April 2nd. Upon his departure, the current Lieutenant Colonel will serve as interim chief. The presidential primary is inching closer and closer. Tomorrow is actually the first day of absentee in-person direct balloting for Olmsted County.
Yeah, our Darian Letty was able to catch up with some county election officers to shed some light on all of this and kind of let us all know as voters what we need to know before casting our ballot. Good morning, Darian.
Good morning, you two. Yes, always good to have a voting plan in place and great that we have so many options to do so. So like you said, this is for the presidential primary, which is held every 4 years ahead of the general election that happens in November. Election officials describe direct balloting as the voting that's kind of between absentee voting and election day voting. So instead of sending in your ballot in the mail, you're actually going to show up on site and then fill out an application. From there, you'll get your ballot, and then after you're done voting there, you'll put it into the tabulator like you would do on election day. One thing to know, a voter must request the ballot of a major political party of their choice for this election. So in Minnesota, that's Republican, Democratic, and Legal Marijuana Now Party.
Remember to do your research ahead of time. You're going to have to select a ballot for a political party for this one. So you're researching which party you most agree with the principles of, then selecting a candidate off that party. A number of the candidates may have already dropped off, so some of the names on the ballot may not be running currently, so always do your research ahead of time.
There are 2 direct balloting locations in Olmsted County. The first is the Olmsted County Elections Office. That is the one that's opening tomorrow until March 4th, Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. The second location is at the Olmsted County Government Center. That doesn't open until February 27th, and it'll be open through March 4th from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Both locations will be open on March 2nd, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And this is all leading up to that presidential primary, which is on March 5th. And the general election for the president is on November 5th. Justin Kelsey, this kind of really just crept up on me on this election year. But it's never too early to start thinking of your voting plan.
Right? Yeah, it's a lot of useful and helpful information for maybe people that have never done it before. Thank you so much, Darian.
Yeah.
Every 8 minutes, someone is added to the transplant list.
And today that list currently sits at around 100,000 people waiting for a second chance at a healthy life. People can declare their intentions to donate on their driver's license or by signing on your state's registry. Doing that could save many lives in many ways. According to the Gift of Life Transplant House in Rochester, 17 people pass away each day while waiting on the organ transplant list.
By just checking the box, and we don't like to think about it, but if you have an accident or something happens to you that you pass away from this earth, your passing can potentially save the lives of at least 8 other people and probably about 75 with tissue, eyes, those kinds of things.
For 40 years, Gift of Life has comforted those waiting for their new organ, and you can watch one local family's successful transplant story on our website, kttc.com. It is 6:41. Just ahead, we're going to take you back to the 1930s for the local tunes that were the talk of the town on the radio. We'll be right back.
This Black History Month, we celebrate Tommy.
On a Throwback Thursday, Musical Memories, a live program presented from the studio of KROC Radio, debuted February 11th, 1936. The station had just gone on the air the previous summer, broadcasting from a studio located in the Martin Hotel. At the time, the only other commercial radio stations in Minnesota were in Duluth and the Twin Cities.
Wow.
Musical Memories was presented every Tuesday at 9 p.m., featuring performances by local musicians and singers like these. That is a cool look back at our local past.
Here's your first alert weather with meteorologist Ted Schmidt.
Snowfall came to an end here in Rochester right around 2 o'clock this morning. Since then, road conditions have been improving. Now we have some sunshine to talk about as well. It's going to be a sunny, breezy, and very winter-like Thursday. Much colder than any of the weather we have seen so far this entire month. We have not had a high temperature so far below freezing in the month of February. Here we are in the midpoint of the month, but now a little taste of winter. Some wintry elements there. We have snow cover on some of the roads around the area, but there has been a lot of improvement since the top of our newscast at 4:30. A lot of green showing up now around Rochester, all the way to Winona and down toward Austin and Interstate 90. So that is a big change from where we were just a couple of hours ago when everything was blue. In other words, partially covered. Now, there are still some blue patches here and there, so look for at least some slick spots in the wake of that snow that has moved down to the east. 1 inch of snowfall on the ground here in Rochester. Not a lot of totals coming in so far, but we'll certainly relay that information to you in time. But right now, we're looking at least some snow in the landscape and some sunshine. Cold conditions as we look outside with our Lewiston Auto Live cameras across the area. We were in the mid-40s yesterday. The official high temperature 46. We had rain last evening, then we had snow, and with that transition, we had some slush on the ground, and that has now refrozen, so we have that crusty layer on the ground, and there may be some slick spots because of that, but things are getting better again as we move along. Clouds clearing off. In fact, they cleared off right after the snow ended just a few hours ago. High pressure trying to nudge its way in, but ahead of that, it's going to be a breezy and cold but sun-filled day. 21 right now at Rochester at the airport, 18 in Albert Lea, 21. In Mason City, 28 still in Winona at this hour. It does feel like it's 8 outside, though. The wind chill, 8. And winds 14, gusting around 20 miles per hour. Air pressure rapidly rising as that high pressure comes in behind that storm system. 22 for the morning commute. Cold sunshine, raw winds. The wind chill value in the single digits. That's where we'll spend most of the day. Blustery again tomorrow. We'll have another area of low pressure skirt the area, generating more wind. And so it's going to be kind of breezy for the next couple of days, though the temperatures will slowly try to improve as we reach the weekend. But still winter-like at least through Sunday before we see some changes. Future track today, cold winds. We had an inch of snow last night, 1 to 3 inches area wide, and now it's cold sunshine. Temperatures just shy of freezing. We'll be in the upper 20s later today with help of that strong mid-February sunshine. Cloud cover takes over tonight as that Clipper system grazes the area to the southwest. A couple of snow showers or flurries around Mason City up toward Clear Lake and Lake Mills, and also around Northwood. But for the most part, a trace or so of snowfall from that in those areas. Then skies clear off tomorrow. We'll have a lot of windy, cold sunshine tomorrow, and another day just like it on Saturday. High temperatures today around 29. It's going to feel like the teens at best today because of those raw winds that at times will reach 25 miles per hour. Temperatures in the 20s for the next couple of days. Still kind of winter-like through Sunday, but then we see spring-like warmth. Those familiar 40s. Yeah, they're coming back next week, and we'll spend most of next week in March mode once again with that abnormally mild weather. 29 today, mostly sunny, blustery and cold. Look for winds on the gusty side at times today. 17 tonight with a couple of snow showers southwest of the area, but again, mostly cloudy and dry for most of the area, though. 7-day forecast temperatures next week, very mild after a kind of a wintry spell of weather. It's about time, I guess. We haven't had weather like this in a long time. The first measurable snowfall in a month last night, and now winter-like wind chill numbers for a while here, too.
Yeah, always keeping us on our toes, Mother Nature, isn't she?
Yeah, I mean, it's been such a strange month, I guess.
Yeah.
You knew winter would come back eventually.
Right. With and with the snow and the weather that we're kind of dealing with, we do have a couple of school delays that are happening this morning on the other side of the border. North Iowa Community Schools is delayed 2 hours, as well as Riceville Community Schools, so keep that in mind. And of course, all that snow, it can create a mess on the road, so we just want to make sure that you are when heading out the door this morning. Here's a live look from our KTTC morning photographer, Kaylee Dershel. She's been giving us a look at what the roads look like, and at this hour, we get to see a beautiful sunrise.
Yeah, that looks nice.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, and with the sunrise, you can see the reflection on the road. Obviously, the roads are wet. She's been driving all around town. I believe here she is on 55th Street Northwest. Right up here in our neck of the woods. So yeah, definitely the city streets are a little bit more slushy or wet and slippery than some of the highways that we've seen throughout the morning. So things to just keep in mind, maybe give yourself just a little bit of extra time and just take it slow on any of those slushy roads. It is 6:50, coming off Valentine's Day. Delta Airlines sure knows how to show their employees some love.
And talk about a missed opportunity. Someone is out millions of dollars after failing to come forward with a winning lottery ticket in time. Ouch. First on this Thursday, here's Savannah Guthrie.
Good morning. Coming up on Today, we have the very latest overnight on that mass shooting at the Chiefs' Super Bowl victory parade. We'll have new details on the investigation, the victims, and the fan who helped tackle a possible suspect will join us for a live interview. Also ahead, the latest example of unruly behavior on a plane. It's got the FAA sharing a warning with all airline passengers. We've got that story. And then one of the world's biggest stars, Jennifer Lopez, is stopping by live. She's ready to drop new music and a remarkable on-screen project. Can't wait to talk about that. Plus, she's got some big news to share with her fans just right here when we see you on Today.
KTTC weather brought to you by Furniture Superstore.
Listen to this. Delta Airlines workers, they're getting some extra money this week because the company is paying out $1.4 billion in profit sharing right to its employees. The bonus comes out to 10% of their annual salary, more than a month's pay. This year's amount was more than double what Delta gave employees in profit sharing a year ago. The payments went out to more than 100,000 employees, everyone below mid-level managers. It is Delta's second largest profit sharing payout in its history, trailing only the record $1.6 billion in bonuses awarded back in 2019. That year's amount was roughly equivalent to 2 months of pay per employees. Definitely feeling the love. Here's a story that'll make you say, ouch. In Florida, someone missed the deadline to claim their $36 million Mega Millions lottery ticket. That would just be sad, so sad. As a result, the winner has forfeited all of those winnings. They had 180 days after the drawing to claim the prize money, but missed that deadline. It was on Sunday. So the winning ticket was sold in Jacksonville in August, and according to Florida law, 80% of that unclaimed money is now going to go to the Educational Enhancement Trust Fund. The remaining funds will be held for the prize pool. If you want to grab your next ticket for the Mega Millions drawing, it's happening tomorrow. That's $57 million for the jackpot. It is 6:55 on this Thursday morning. Here's a live look outside in Rochester, right in our backyard here at KTTC, Highway 52 from 65th Street Northwest. A new layer of snow we have across our area. Ted's going to tell us what we can expect for the rest of the day when we come back.
KTTC traffic.
It is 6:57. Here's a look at our top stories. The man accused of fatally shooting someone in Southwest Rochester will next appear in court at the end of the month. 20-year-old Isaac Gutierrez is facing a second-degree murder charge in the death of 24-year-old Osbel Ornelas, who died of gunshot wounds to the head last Saturday in the parking lot near Chick-fil-A. Police say this stemmed from an argument over a parking spot. Gutierrez has not yet entered a plea in the case, but is demanding an omnibus hearing. His next court appearance will be February 27th.
All eyes will be on Iowa City tonight to watch Iowa basketball star Caitlin Clark break the NCAA women's all-time scoring record. She is just 8 points shy of breaking that, and it should come early in the game against Michigan. The team's head coach does hope to call a timeout when that happens to recognize Caitlin. The Hawkeyes game starts at 7 o'clock.
It's a big deal. Well, today is day 2 of our KTTC Mayo Clinic Community Blood Drive. All donations staying right here in our area. The Bloodmobile for Mayo will once again be parked at Mercedes-Benz of Rochester, and crews are going to be taking blood donations from 8 a.m. until 3 today. If you want to make an appointment, we have all the details on our website, kttc.com.
All right, we leave you with this cute story. Valentine's Day isn't just for humans. Chicago's Brookfield Zoo celebrated the love with themed enrichment activities for its animals. Gray seals, as you can see here, were chowing down on some Valentine's Day treats, and 2 bottleneck dolphins here, Allison and Kai, had to jump out of the water to get there. What looks like almost jello, maybe ice kind of love there. Raisin, this one is for Jess. 2-toed sloth was able to get a heart-shaped sweet potato. Clearly, what is this? Is that a cheetah? Leopard? Yeah.
All the animals.
All the animals. There's so many things.
We may have to stay tuned to see the sloth.
Oh, back to the seal. Well,
those are all adorable, though.
Yes, and the pink cockatoo. Yeah, a pink cockatoo on Valentine's Day. I feel like that's very fitting.
Yes, fun stuff there for sure. Gotta love all the different ways people were celebrating. Maybe you were out and about, took your special someone to dinner. Things did get a little messy when that rain was turning over to snow.
It was, yeah. At one point it was slush, and at least on paved areas. Elevated surfaces here at the studio, for instance, we have an inch of snow on the ground. But on the paved areas on the ground, a little less than that, where it's a little crusty, a little icy. Road conditions right now, a lot of green around Rochester. A lot of the area seeing some vast improvement. Skies have cleared off. A lot of cold sunshine today, a high of 29, but wind chill in the teens.